Hi, so today I'm going to do a book review about the arc of a Scythe series. So I read all three books. So the first one is the Scythe, the next one is the Toll, and the third one is the Thunderhead. It is a really good series that I just blasted through. I just read it so quickly. I got hold of the books through the Libby app, which is an ebook distribution app that's provided a service through my library card. So I read all the books for free, but I will probably at some point go out and buy them because I love them so much that I want them on my bookshelf. So let's get into it. So let me tell you a little bit about the world in the Scythe series. So the first thing that attracted me to the Arc of a Scythe series was the fact that it had a scythe on the cover. Because my second book, Skyheart, it's about the Reapers, so the shifters that turn into crows, and they also take people's souls, and their main weapon is the scythe. So that is in book 2. So I was like, oh, I wonder what this person's done with it. They have done something completely different. So this is not fantasy at all. It is definitely dystopia. But I'll tell you a little bit about the world building, which is that the world seems like a beautiful utopia. So the first thing, especially after coming out of a pandemic, that's pretty interesting to know is that all illnesses, all diseases, all that kind of stuff has all been eradicated. So like, you can't get ill anymore. If you were to have an injury, they've got these like bot things that like can just, what is it, nanites that can just like, one, they can be like up to like suppress your pain so you don't even feel anything, while they also have all these things in place that will just heal you. You can also what else is there, you can reverse your aging, so you can choose your favorite age and you can be that age forever. So some people have lived hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes because they can't die anymore. And then that brings me nicely on to the scythe element. So basically, to manage the world population, there is a group of people that are selected to be the scythes, and they will have, their job is to randomly go around and have to cull the herd, if you like. So basically they will choose someone and they will end their life, because that's what has to be happened, so that we don't get overpopulated in the world, because people can still populate but they're not going anywhere, because they're not dying, they're not getting ill, nothing, they can't be injured, they're all completely fine. Like even one of the really great characters in the first book is Tiger. He is one of the main character's best friends. He's a side character, but one of his hobbies is splatting, which is basically where he jumps out of a window to splat on the ground and then just be all put back together again in hospital. So that gives you a illustration of how advanced their health technologies are, and the need for a way to manage this is the scythes. There's also another element in the series. So you may have noticed that the third book in the series is called Thunderhead. The Thunderhead is an AI system that runs the world. It makes sure that everybody always has food. If you want a job, it will create a job for you so that you have purpose. It just allocates and takes care of everything for everybody. It's like this godly voice in your house that's able to guide you and tell you everything you need to know. So it's almost like, even though it's a computer, it is a character in itself, because it has its own voice, its own opinion, it's everywhere, it's all eyes everywhere. A little bit Big Brother. So I mean, it's sold in a utopia way, but you can feel the dystopian vibes, that it's got control over everything, but it's supposed to be like caring, and it makes the best decisions for humanity and make sure that we always have the resources and sustainability we need, which is great. Okay, so two of the other groups that we need to talk about that feature in the series is the Tonis. They are the religious group within this world that Neal has built up. The Tonis, eventually they believe that this person called the Toll will come and lead them. They also live their own sacred life. They kind of switched off from technology. And they believe in this sound, the resonance and all this stuff. So it seems like a very musical theme to their religion, but all the other religions in the world have pretty much been eradicated because there is no afterlife anymore, because people don't die the same way. I don't know. It's kind of like gone. This is the religion that's left. Not when some people who aren't Tonists kind of look down on the Tonists because they're kind of like shunned because they're seen as a little bit weird, a little bit strange. Like, why wouldn't you want to just like do what the Thunderhead said and follow the Thunderhead? But they like live in their temples and they do their religious stuff. And then we've got another group which are called the Unsavories. The Unsavories are the non-law abiding citizens, so they break the laws. There seems to be a need for, again, the Thunderhead just responds to people's needs. So the Unsavories are punished by the Thunderhead because these are people that feel like they have a need to want to rebel, to go against the system, and the Thunderhead kind of like humours them and lets them do this by allowing them to do certain things. To punish them, it just doesn't communicate with them. So it's not like they don't get food anymore. They would still be taken care of by the Thunderhead, but the Thunderhead just wouldn't speak to them anymore, because a lot of people will ask the Thunderhead questions, ask for guidance, like, what's the time, Thunderhead, or when should I do this, or what's the weather like today, and the Thunderhead will just like give them information all the time. So they'll just be cut off from that. They tend to do things like they might go out to a club to do some spray painting. They also pay people to like if they want to get in a fight, to do that sort of thing. And the Thunderhead provides just like a service like it would to anybody else. And yeah, so that's the Unsavories. So we've got our three main groups, and obviously there's just the normal general public who do just the normal general jobs. But again, the jobs aren't really necessary. The Thunderhead is creating the jobs to kind of humans to give them a purpose.
Let's read the blurb on Goodreads. Ark of the Scythe, Book 1, Scythe, by Neal Shusterman. Thou shalt kill. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things, and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own.
So the first book is about Scythe Faraday picking 2 apprentices to learn the Scythe life. So when someone becomes an apprentice, they have to go through a number of challenges to prove themselves, like going through a real apprenticeship, like there's training, and they have to prove that they've learnt it and are suitable to actually take on the profession of being a scythe. So that's what the Scythe apprentice does. And when they are finally, graduated and become a scythe, a fully fledged scythe, they are given a ring, which is the Scythe ring. It's a blood red ring that they, like ruby red, like they wear on their hand. And when they glean someone, which is, as you told from the blurb, is what they like to call killing people rather than culling or killed. They call it gleaning. So they would glean someone, would mean that they took their life. They would then grant immunity to the immediate family of that person. So if somebody came to my home and gleaned me, they would then grant immunity to my husband and my 2 children because they live with us, and they would not be gleaned. So
okay, I don't want to get too carried away with all the characters in the book because there's loads. So I've highlighted some of my favourite ones to talk about. So the first one is Scythe Faraday. He's the guy who chooses the 2 teens to be his new apprentices. Then you've got Citra Terranova and Rowan Damish. They are the 2 teens that become his apprentices. I also really loved Rowan's best friend, Tiger. He was just a real character and a lot of fun to read about. I also enjoyed Scythe Faraday's previous apprentice, who's now a fully fledged Scythe who's really made a name for herself, and that's Scythe Curie. I also enjoyed the bad guy who was Scythe Faraday's it's not his nemesis, but like he's the bad guy anyway in the story, and that's Scythe Goddard. His like right hand man is a woman named Scythe Rand. She is kind of like got a soft spot for Goddard, despite the fact that it's never reciprocated. But she will do anything for him and loves the way that he leads everyone in the New Order to their way of thinking. And then we have the last person you can see in here, which the guy doesn't really like appear until like nearer the middle of the book, and that's Grayson Tolliver, but he is important, so I will get to that.
So what makes this really interesting is that one of the things is Scythe Faraday has chosen 2 apprentices. These aren't his first ever apprentices, as we learn later that a already very well known, well respected Scythe Curry was one of his earlier apprentices. But these 2 people have been chosen at the same time to both be his apprentice. So one is Citra Terranova, and the other one is Rowan Daminsk. I'm doing it off the top of my head. I will check later, but yeah. So Rowan and Citra become his apprentices. So they move into his house, they begin their training, and then they go to this big like summit meeting thing where all the Scythes get together for that territory. So like America, which is called I think it's called the Mercias or something. Parts of the world over, because it's set in the future, have had their names changed. There's like Mid Mercia, North Mercia, that sort of thing. So it sounds like America's broke up a little bit. And I'm guessing it's America just because it sounds like America, Mercia. So anyway, they go to this like Scythe Summit meeting where Faraday presents his 2 new apprentices, and this causes a little bit of a scandal because there are 2 fractions within the Scythedom, so not everything is all hunky-dory in Scythe world. The 2 fractions are the old style Scythe and the New Order. So it's Old Order, New Order. And the Old Order believe in like the traditions of where the Scythedom all started from. So it involves things like, gleaming one person at a time sort of thing, and being respectful with the way that you deal death, giving the immunity to the immediate family, and all these kind of things. And they take it like almost like what they do is an art form, and they're very proud of what they do, but there's also this kind of like humbleness to it because they understand that what they are doing is a job that requires quite a great deal of responsibility. I not ever mentioned earlier, but the Thunderhead cannot intervene with any of the Scythe businesses because it was decided that an AI should not be responsible for who should lose their life. So that's why the Scythes do it. And also this, just like the Thunderhead does not speak to the Unsavories, the Thunderhead does not communicate with the Scythes. They are 2 separate entities. They do not work together at all. Although the Scythes can go like on the computer like old-fashioned style, like I guess normal people do, go on the computer and search the web and try and find information, but the Thunderhead organises information in a different way to how people would, so it's not as straightforward as how we would go and search the internet today, because most people would just ask the Thunderhead for the information, and she knows, I always had the feeling that she was a she, but I don't know, would provide the information to them, so there's no need for them to go search for it. But the Unsavories or the Thunderhead would have to go through the back brain of the Thunderhead to get information. So I think I went off on one. Yeah, so they go to the summit, Citra and Rowan, and the scandal happens. Now, because Faraday is very much on the old order style of things, the New Order people are a little bit more like, they think that they should be like on a pedestal for what they do, that this is great power that they have. They like to put their robes, so like obviously like we've seen like historically, like this is outside of the book, that Scythes wear like the long gown, like a hood, a long gown, and usually it's plain black. In Neal's world that he's built, I'm like, Neal's world, yeah, but you know what I mean, the Scythes can wear any colour they want. So the Old Order will wear their favourite colour, or the colour that they want to, they feel presents them best. And the New Order, they will glam theirs up, so they like bedazzle it with like gems everywhere, and crystals and sparkles, and they're just very flamboyant and want to show off because look at us, we are the Scythes and we can take your life. They also do things called mass gleaming, so whereas the others would be more respectful and coordinated and calm and stuff, the others have seen that there is no rule that says you can't do a whole lot in one go. So Old Order would spread their gleanings out over the whole year. New Order will go and just do like one massive quota in one go. So very different styles, and this scandal of having 2 apprentices causes a little bit of an uproar, and it is decided that only one of Faraday's apprentices can pass the apprenticeship, and the first job of the successful applicant or apprentice will be to glean the other apprentice. So we're already in a situation that Rowan and Citra are working together because they're kind of like peers, aren't they? They're like students together, Faraday students, and they're now in a situation where if they do really well, they have got to glean their new friend because they are going to be in that position eventually. So a little spoiler, you can skip ahead if you don't want to know this, but Faraday tries to come up with a solution because he's actually a guy with a really big heart. He doesn't really want to see these two having to go against each other, so he tries to think, how can I get them out of this agreement? And the only way he can see is if he was to no longer exist. Now, Scythes can take other people's lives, they cannot take another Scythe's life. The only way a Scythe can get gleaned is if they were to kill themselves. So that's what Faraday does. However, his plan does not work. His dying wish is not granted, because what happens is Goddard, who is from the New Order and is the sort of like ultimate baddie in the book, he decides that he will take on the apprentices because he wants to see one of them succeed and one of them die. He really does revel in death. It's like a joy to him. He's a little bit, messed up in the head. He's a bit twisted. So that's what he wants to do. Luckily, Scythe, who I think I mentioned before, who is Faraday's very first apprentice, she steps up and says, no, I will take them. So it's decided that the apprentices will go 1 to 1, 1 to each of them. So Goddard gets the young lad, Rowan, and Curie gets the young girl called Citra. So they go their own ways. So as you already know, there are 2 different fractions within the Scythe Order. So following these 2 apprentices is a great way to really understand the whole world because we are learning with them. So having Rowan and Citra trained by different people in the 2 fractions, it gives really good insight into the 2 different worlds. So Rowan is being trained by Goddard, who is going to take him on mass gleamings. He's going to encourage him to enjoy the gleamings and all this, whereas Citra is with Curie, Faraday's first ever apprentice, who has learned all the New Order side of things. She encourages Citra to research, I was going to say victims, but research their subject before they go and glean them. She also offers to cook the families of the deceased person a meal afterwards, so they come to her home to get their immunity, and she also cooks them a lovely meal and they sit down. So it's a really different way of doing things between the 2 Scythes. One of the things that Goddard does that Rowan's not very happy about, I mean there's a lot of things that Rowan's not happy about with Goddard because he is like the bad guy, is that he hires Tiger. So Tiger is Rowan's best friend, and he hires Tiger because Tiger is becomes a party boy, which means he gets rented by people to go to their house and just party, which he thinks is great. It's a great job to have. That's his profession. So he's hired to come to Goddard's house. Goddard's home is also another interesting thing. So a lot of people have respect for the Scythes because they don't have a profession where they earn money or anything like that. So if a Scythe comes to your home, you would be very respectful to them. You'd offer to cook them meals and take care of them. But Goddard has taken this one step further. He went to someone who was very rich's house, and he now owns their house. That's his house. He has a lovely grand mansion, big driveway, has a swimming pool. Whereas Curry, she has, I think it's like over a dam, but it's like a little house there. So it's much more reserved and not flashy. So that's the two different things. So obviously the two have to train, and they go to the different meetings, and they're trying to figure out a way to beat the system so that they don't have to kill each other at the end. Meanwhile, because Curry encourages Citra to research all of their victims, she goes on I don't know. Is the word victims? I don't know. They're subjects. I don't know. What would you call them? Their target? I don't know. So anyway, she goes to research them, and while researching, she decides to have a little look into Faraday's suicide. Yes, she has questions, and she is not convinced it is as straightforward as they have been told. She shares this with Rowan when they meet up at one of the events, and it starts getting Rowan thinking as well. A lot happens in the series. I can't remember how it comes about, but there is a situation where Rowan has the opportunity to... I can't work out how it happened because it's a while since I've read it. He basically takes down Goddard. So Goddard is officially gleaned. So obviously a Scythe can't glean another Scythe. So what Rowan does is he makes a fire, which is the only true death you can have in this futuristic world. It's one thing that the Thunderhead cannot reverse is somebody burns to death. So it was one of their mass gleamings. Rowan's been tasked with not allowing anyone to escape while they're going around having this blood mass, and he decides that enough is enough and decides to take out Goddard and all his little minion. Like, there's lots of other Scythes that follow him because they think, oh, he's such a great leader and we love his way and the way he does things. So he decides to take them all out, sets fire, true death. And so that's the end of it. But as he goes, he steals Goddard's cloak and his ring. That's it, I remember now. So they get to the final thing and they do their final test, and Rowan tries to... They both keep trying to throw the test so that they're not the winners, so they won't have to kill each other. But it happens so that Citra wins. So she is going to become the profession. So she's got to kill Rowan. And she manages to come up with a get out of this situation, because that's what we've been trying to think of. I literally, as I was reading, I could not work out how she was going to get out of this one. But she does manage to do it, and when you read the book, it makes sense, and it's so clever. And it's like, you know that the ones that wanted to see them kill each other, like most of the New Order, are absolutely livid. So basically, that means that there's a little bit of a delay until it has to happen. I feel the only way to do it is to just tell you. No, you have to read the book. So anyway, so he's still around even though he is no longer a Scythe. So anyway, he decides to set fire to this place. He kills Goddard, but as he goes, he steals Goddard's ring. So now he has a Scythe ring, but he's not a official Scythe. So how will this work? And so that is kind of like how... Oh yeah, and then he also manages to follow on Citra's research and track down Faraday. He faked his death because he thought that that was the way to save them, and he's been sunning himself on a lovely little beach house, having a great time. But now he comes back in the nick of time to whip Rowan out of there. So I've got to quickly whip off and pick up my children. So I will come back and record the rest about the next book and the one after that. Yeah, so I might be wearing something different later because I might have to record on a different day or something. I don't know, but we will see.